This is Chris Moses with Gospel Progressions University. You ever hear a chord you wished upon a star that you could actually hear what it is? What you're probably hearing is called a chord stack. Another fancy schmancy name for it is called a polychord.
Polychords are like stacking ingredients in a sandwich. Two different chords are played together, just like layering sandwich fillings. It has its own unique sound or flavor. When combined, they create a new complex musical taste, similar to how peanut butter and jelly taste great separately, but even better together. Polychords blend the sounds of individual chords into a delightful new sound. Polychords add depth and texture to music. They offer a surprising and enjoyable musical experience. Like a secret ingredient in a recipe, polychords give songs an unexpected twist. They enhance the overall musical expression with their layered complexity. Let's dig in and learn all about polychords.
If you haven't yet, download my free guide, What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? It's over at gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/Gospel Keys Pro, and it won't disappoint you. You will be blessed. A polychord is simply a combination of chords or a compounded chord. So it's going to be two major chords being played at the same time, one on top of another. The word itself, polychords, is a compounded word. Poly means more than one, and a chord is what we have when we play three or more notes at the same time harmonically. The function of a polychord in music, especially with gospel music, is to enhance the harmony. It's not something you would play all the time. Like, for example, we just played the C major chord, right? And I have the C major chord that I'm playing on my left hand here. And this is a triad. It's just a vanilla chord. But if I wanted to play a polychord, I would take another chord, like a B major, for example, and I'll play that on top. Now, this doesn't fit in any kind of key, but the function of it harmonically is to extend the harmony, to add color to it. So when you listen to it, you kind of give that stink face. So whenever you hear something like this in any kind of gospel music, at the end of a phrase, typically before you get into a verse or a chorus, or they may even hold it out for a while, and if you're kind of scratching your head, it's more than likely some type of polychord that they're playing. We're going to go ahead and play a couple of examples here. I have a couple of songs. I have an older one from Timothy Wright. And this one is, I think, around the year 2000, this one came out. It's called You Brought Me Through This. And it's in D flat major. When they change the phrase and they go into the chorus, you'll see what I'm saying. I'm going to show you. And here it comes right here. Okay, again, that chord has been held out, because to hold out just the major chord, it'll get you by, and I'm sure that's what you've been doing, getting by. You got about 10 songs to learn that they gave you, and you got to learn them in 3 days, and you don't have time to be sitting there listening until your ears bleed to figure out what the chords are. But I'm going to show you a trick that we use professionally. We use to figure out what the polychords are, okay? So this is not like any secret really, but a lot of people don't understand this, that the way to break this down, this can be broken down into small bite-sized chunks. So we have our key of D flat major, but we're not going to focus on the D flat major portion of it. We're going to go over to A flat, which is the fifth of D flat major. So we go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And it's an A flat major chord. You're listening for two things. When you listen to the song here, the bass on the tonic, the root. All right, we have the root. We know that it's A flat, and we're listening, or we're trying to hear the note that's played on top. Okay, so we know that we have this. So typically when you hear a song, all right, well, this is the root, it's the top note, so it's in D flat, must be a 5 chord, so it's A flat major. But we can extend that. The way to do that now is to pay attention to the key of A flat, right? So we're not listening no more, or we're no longer so much paying attention to the D flat. We're looking at A flat major, because that's the dominant chord here, the 5 chord. A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F, G, and A flat, right? So with any major scale, we have 7 chords, 3 that are minor, 3 that are major, and 1 diminished. So the 3 major chords, we're not paying attention to it. The diminished chord, not so much. But we're looking at the minor chords, which would be the 2 chord, B flat, the 3 chord, C minor, and the 6 chord, F minor. So one of those chords are going to make the most amount of sense with playing over A flat. But we're going to take them and make them major. So the minor rather, of B flat becomes major. The minor of C minor becomes major, C major. and F minor becomes F major, right? So first chord here, let's see what it sounds like. We're playing a B flat major over an A flat. So let's take a listen to that again and see what it sounds like here. Don't really like that. That was B flat major. Let's try C major. That might, this E here wants to resolve to the F in my ears, right? This would work, but I'm hearing something else there. Right. At the same time, I'm hearing the F and the A flat. So if it's not B flat, then it's probably going to be F major over the A flat. Okay. But I'm hearing this on top. So far we have this F inverted chord, right? So we're taking the key of A flat major. We're still in the key of D flat technically, but we're paying attention to A flat. Just to make this easier, we're inverting that F. But if we have this up here, we need to extend this, right? So we play A flat in the left hand. And then we can go from A flat, E flat, skip to C, because we can play it here. So and actually take your thumb and move it up here if you can reach. And try that, right? Right. Okay. And so now we have the polychord. It's still A flat major, right? We have A flat, but this spread out. And we're inverting our chords, okay? And it's F major and it's inverted. And then we repeat the A flat up here. A lot of the tension comes in between this here, what's known as a major 7 interval, right? But just understand that we're playing two chords. It's just an F major chord on top of an A flat major chord. And so now we can actually extend that even further, because knowing that A flat is the 5 of D flat, we normally would play that as what's called a dominant chord. A dominant chord is going to give us the 7th interval. So instead of just an A flat major, you have an A flat 7 or an A flat dominant. So we can extend that even further. And then we can play the G flat. The whole chord would be A flat 7 on your left hand with an A, C, F, A flat in your right hand. There's probably a couple of other ways that you can voice that, being that we're adding in another element now of the G flat. But the basic understanding of it is that there are two chords, A flat major or rather F major and A flat major. And experiment, see what this sounds like whenever you're listening to something. Where you would listen to it is at the beginning or the ending of a phrase. Whenever you hear something being held out for long and it's like, oh, that's a nice sound, probably playing a polychord. See what it is, listen for the bass line, listen for the upper note as the melody, and try to put the two together. So let's listen to one more example of this. So I'm going to show you the chords here, the two chords, right? When you have that minor chord, right, we're in G sharp minor. You have our first chord is going to be a minor chord, right? So we're on the tonic or the root of the key. And this is the first chord, right? So it's a minor 7 chord and add the 9 in there. So normally with a minor chord now, we can do this. We go up a half step and we have a polychord. It's going to be major. So now listen.
The clothes, the back, with the swimming pool in the back, and the barbecue on the grill. Forget about fortune. Forget
Go up half step.
it's not about money or people screaming my name. I just love you.
So that's how that would work. When we start out with a minor chord, the next chord following would be a major chord, and you're going to play a polychord. A major, E major, or E major over an A Start minor, go major. Okay, so this song is in G sharp minor, right? Or A flat minor, G sharp minor, right? And I would say that because the relative major is B major. It's just a theory thing. So G sharp minor, right? And you hear them playing this, and then now you hear the bass line go up a half step, which has nothing to do with G sharp minor or B major. Just to give you understanding, the A flat or G sharp minor would be G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, and G sharp again. All right, or the major relative major is going to be B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. But we play its relative minor, and this is where the tonic is, or the root of the song is. All right, and then they do this thing. So when you hear that, it's being held out for a certain amount of time. There they go again with that. So we know what the bass line is, okay? And this time it's going from something that's minor, okay? Before we had a major key tonality. Something that's minor to something else. We know this is going to be minor because this is, we hear the tonic here, right? Right? So overall, here's another trick of the trade. Whenever you hear a minor chord progression, relative minor, doesn't matter what key it's in, if you hear them go up a half step, 9 times out of 10, they're going to play a major chord over that. But there's going to be a polychord again. So you have your minor chord, and then now you have your major chord, and you can have another polychord on top of that. And typically the kind of polychord is going to be another major chord on top of another major chord. Again, keep experimenting. Whenever you hear music, you're trying to learn something or listen to something, you see one of these guys on YouTube, or you're listening to an album or recording a track, and there's a chord or something you don't quite get, try the polychords. But the best way to do that is just to listen to that bass line, which is super easy. You can hear it. It's going to be the lowest frequency almost all the time. And then listen to the top note and try to see what harmonizes with that in the middle, and try to see if you can put the two chords together. And then from there, try to invert them to see what kind of color you come up with. I hope this has blessed you and this has helped you, and this will continue to help you in your playing. Again, if you haven't yet, go check out Gospel Progressions University and go download my free guide, What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? God bless you, and I will see you in the next video.